Right now at 6, historic flooding hammers Washington.
That if you have instructions to evacuate from your local authorities, please, please, please evacuate.
With many families forced out as rivers reach record levels.
It does make you feel pretty sad, to see people displaced.
Plus, a family remembers a loved one taken too soon.
He's missed, he's loved every day.
As his murderer is sentenced to life in prison. Then, the proposed merger, some say, could create more opportunities for students.
I think our ambition is to be the great private university that the Northwest needs.
And later, face first at 90 miles an hour with nothing but ice beneath. The Winter Games' wildest rides and the athletes gutsy enough to try them.
We walk through the numerous highway closures. We walk through the flood levels. We walk through tens of thousands of Washingtonians being evacuated.
During a press conference today, Washington Governor Bob Ferguson said he is working closely with FEMA to try and approve a disaster declaration for Washington state. Thank you for joining us. I'm Christine Pedowanich. It comes as floodwaters overwhelm the state, cutting off communities, stranding drivers, and in some cases, submerging entire towns. This is new video from Sumas near the Canadian border. It's just one example of the devastation facing Western Washington right now. We spoke to Cascades chapter of the Red Cross today as it deploys resources from across the Northwest to help with relief.
Well, we always say we're going to be there as long as there is a need. So our typical volunteer assignment might be for 2 weeks. Then if we need to stay longer in the area, it'll be a second wave of volunteers coming in.
Well, our coverage continues with Jake Holter in Chehalis, that's in Lewis County, where some roads are still impassable.
Hamilton Road, not far off the interstate, is covered in water here in Chehalis, and that floodwater is creating a pond out of this person's front yard. River still rushing after this week's rain in western Washington. This is the Newaukum River, which runs into the Chehalis River, still breaching its banks. Downriver, floodwaters displacing more than a dozen at the Chehalis Avenue apartments.
First I saw people getting sandbags together in the shed, and I figured that was just to be like a precautionary thing. I didn't know the intensity of the flood. And then I saw a lot more people coming out, and then I started seeing cars piling in, and so then I just went to go check it out.
What she saw was shocking.
And when I turned around the corner, it was just looked like a lake, basically. And everybody was just kind of carrying all their stuff out, and some people were getting mad and crying, and there's a lot of animals that were in distress and everything.
14 people spending Wednesday night at a Red Cross shelter set up at St. John's Lutheran Church.
The Red Cross came in, set everything up very quickly. They had food, cots, blankets. We have showers and bathrooms here, and a washer and dryer for people.
Parish Administrator Michelle Turner says those who stayed ranged from kids to seniors, and there was a spot for pets as well.
When I came down to make sure they had all the supplies they needed, it does make you feel pretty sad, to see people displaced. But, we're lucky to have this facility so they can be comfortable.
And those temporarily displaced people returned to their homes Thursday morning as the floodwaters have receded quite a bit as the rain lightened up. Jake Holter, KGW News.
Meteorologist Matt Zafino joining us now. Matt, where do things go from here?
Well, they're going in the right direction anyway, Christine, and that would be drier. That's the biggest thing we need to see up in Washington. And, the radar's still showing some showers here, but not the heavy, steady rain from the atmospheric river that led to the flooding in the first place. And we've been dry in Oregon really now for the better part of the last 2 days. The flood watches continue on the Olympic Peninsula through the North Cascade counties down through Puget Sound. And see these yellow areas? That's actually a flash flood watch up for the Skagit River below Sedro-Woolley because of the threat of some dams and levees failing. And if that happened, there would be just a rush of water that would lead to a flash flood. So they're watching that very carefully up in Washington. The counties along northwest Oregon's border are not under flash flood watch. Skamania County is, but things are beginning to settle down. We've got that coastal flooding coastal flood advisory for minor tidal overflow along the beaches until 10 o'clock tonight. The tides aren't super high, but there's so much water coming out of the rivers meeting the ocean that we're getting a little bit of flooding along low spots along Highway 101. Flood warnings, okay, still have it on the Cowlitz River here. That's expected to continue into the weekend there. And then in Oregon, the only flood warning we have is along the Pudding River, which is always very, very slow to drain. It doesn't have much flow at all. It's an old ancient branch of the Willamette River, and it just doesn't really dump out very quickly. It's just barely above flood stage right now, about 3-4 inches. Should drop below flood stage by tomorrow, but some field flooding may still continue to occur in that area. We'll have fog in the morning the next couple of days, but dry for Friday and Saturday. Rain sets in Sunday. That'll be light, a little bit heavier for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But I think the bigger story developing for next week will be the return of mountain snow to the Cascades. We'll have more on that later, Christine.
Like you said, heading in the right direction. Thanks, Matt. In your headlines, a judge sentenced a Portland man to life in prison today for a deadly shooting near the Burnside Bridge. A jury convicted 21-year-old Rizo Eante Lucas of second-degree murder for killing Fars Gidey in April of 2022. Investigators say Lucas, who was barely 18 at the time, walked up to Gidey on Southwest Nato Parkway, pulled out a pistol, and shot him in the neck. Gidey ran toward the Burnside Bridge, where he bled to death. We spoke to Gidey's sister after that hearing today, where she shared this message for her brother's killer.
I hope he has a miserable time in jail. I hope the food makes his stomach hurts every day. I hope he has headaches and nightmares, and I hope my brother is traumatizing him every time he goes to sleep.
Investigators found no clear motive. Just weeks before the shooting, police arrested Lucas for an assault in Northwest Portland, but he was released on bail. The Multnomah County DA's Retail Theft Task Force is asking for your help in finding a man wanted for aggravated theft. Take a look at your screen. The DA's office says 54-year-old Timothy Ray Jones is accused of stealing from Plaid Pantry stores across Portland. He's been frequently seen at Dawson Park near North Stanton and Williams. If you see him, call 911. You can also contact Crime Stoppers of Oregon, which is offering up to a $2,500 reward for any tips that lead to an arrest. Also effective immediately, Multnomah County is banning semi-trucks from using the Stark Street Bridge after another crash in October. You may remember a truck slammed into the concrete wall, crumpling the pedestrian bridge fence and launching a chunk of stone onto the sandy riverbank. It was the latest in a series of crashes after the county spent 6 months repairing the bridge last year. Now, commercial trucks over 19 tons are banned from turning onto the bridge from the historic Columbia River Highway. The restriction will stay in place until the 110-year-old bridge is replaced. Thousands of Oregonians on food assistance now face work requirements after federal waivers ended December 1st. The change affects about 37,000 adults ages 18 to 52 without dependents who must now work, volunteer, or attend employment training 80 hours a month to keep SNAP benefits. 6 counties have enforced these rules since October, but now they apply statewide. Oregon's Department of Human Services says it's notified everyone impacted, and people can contact the agency if they're unsure whether they qualify for an exemption. 2 immigrant rights groups are suing Multnomah County, accusing it of violating Oregon's sanctuary law. The lawsuit claims a county jail contract with the U.S. Marshals Service violates the law. Thomas Schultz has the story.
The lawsuit claims the contract allows people being detained for immigration hearings to continue to be held even after they've already posted bail or their sentence has been completed. In a statement, the Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition said in part, as immigrant communities face increasing threats from federal agents, they need to know that Oregon will back them up with action, not just words. The agreement has been in place since 2019. It allows the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office to house federal detainees in jail in exchange for a payment. This includes detainees awaiting immigration hearings. In a statement, David Henretti, an attorney at Oregon Law Center, said in part, the county cannot allow federal agents to use our local jail as a pipeline to immigration detention. When a judge says you're free, you're free. We've reached out to the Department of Homeland Security about this. We're still awaiting their response. We also reached out to the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. They tell us they do not comment on pending litigation. In downtown Portland, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
Well, the holiday season is here and it can be stressful, especially for an increasing number of families who struggle to make ends meet. Inflation and rising costs have pushed more Oregonians to get help from food pantries and other assistance programs. For over a century, the Sunshine Division has helped fight hunger in our community. We spoke to its executive director during a taping of Straight Talk today about the need he sees right now.
People say, what's happening, or what does the normal person that comes to your food pantry look like? It's working families. It's senior citizens that are on fixed incomes. It's people with disabilities, people who have lost a job or have had hours cut back. What we see a lot is people who've had really one bad day, one unfortunate thing, whether that's a medical issue, a loss of a job, a car transmission that needs repair. Far too many Americans don't have much of a safety net, and so they're turning to places like Sunshine Division more than at any time than any of us can recall.
We also talked about the KGW Great Toy Drive with a new nonprofit partner this year. Latino Network's leader shared the importance of bringing joy to families right now, especially families in the immigrant community who may be feeling fearful and uncertain due to current immigration enforcement efforts.
Well, this is a beautiful time of year where our community, like all communities, come together to be with family, enjoy, the comida that we share together, to do that gift giving and expressions of love for each other. And that's all we want to do this time of year. We want to be together in those ways that really lift up all of our communities.
You can watch the full episode of Straight Talk this weekend or Monday night at 7 o'clock right here on KGW or anytime on our free TV app, KGW+.